Speaking of two front wars, we are probably right on the cusp of whether us or Israel for sure opening a complete total new front. And this, I do say that opening as opposed to one being foisted upon them in Lebanon. There's been some comments overnight from a number of sources. In fact, I saw from the BBC just before I came on here that BBC is reporting that the United States has been told that Israel is going in on the ground in Lebanon. So all these airstrikes and all the taking out of both Nasrallah as well as many of his generals, that was just the first part of it. Now they're going in. And then this additional information here, which I saw about noon today, is that the Pentagon is announcing that several thousand more troops are going to be heading to the region. When you look into the headlines here, they're talking about F-15 Strike Eagles, F-16s, F-22s, more and more air power. And one wonders, what is that for? Because if Israel is talking about going into on the ground here, in Lebanon, that's one thing. But then there was this release by this Netanyahu today. He released a statement. I'll show you in just a second, where he addressed it to the people of not Lebanon, but Iran. Now, before I show you this clip here, I want to remind you that 6 days ago, Netanyahu did a video that said, this is to the people of Lebanon. And about 4 days, I think it was, after that video is when he took out Nasrallah. So now then that Israel is poised on the verge of going into Lebanon, he releases this video.
Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Muhammad Def. Ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. But you know one simple thing. Iran's tyrants don't care about your future, but you do. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different.
See, now here's why that really bothers me and concerns me greatly, because he's saying to the people of Iran, the end is coming for the regime sooner than many people think, at the same time that the United States is sending in more air power, which really can only be viewed as the reason for is against a potential war against Iran that America has apparently already said that we would be willing to fight. Where is this going?
Yeah, no, it's going to a regional war that's probably going to turn global. Because, look, Netanyahu, in my view, is the face of evil. They keep trying to portray Iran. Well, it's said not just by Israel, by the United States. The number one sponsor of terrorism in the world, okay? Well, I can show you the statistics from the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Counterterrorism for its annual report called the Country Report on Terrorism. And it provides the global picture of who's doing what. For the last 7 years, the top 10 groups that are carrying out terrorist attacks, and most of them aren't against Americans, but again, this is global. The top 10 groups, not a one are sponsored by, receive money from, or are aided and trained by Iran. Not one. So where does this? Iran's the number one sponsor of terrorism. If we use the metric of who's killing the most civilians, who's killing the most women and children, according to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, not Larry Johnson, the Israeli Foreign Ministry, its report, they detailing from August of 2000 through April of 2024. And they excluded the October 7th event because let's say that killed 1,200. But other than that, from August 2000 through the next 24 years, the total number of Israelis killed by Hamas, Hezbollah, Popular Front for the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, all of these different groups combined killed a total of 1,425 Israelis. Okay, that's over a 24-year period. In that same time frame, the Israelis killed almost 8,000 Palestinians, and that's, again, not counted what's happened since October 7th. Since October 7th, they've killed over 45,000 civilians, with more than 50% of them being women and children. So if the metric for terrorism is the number of civilians you're killing, you stack up the death toll that you can attribute to Hamas. So let's take the 1,200 and give the full 1,200 for October 7th plus the 1,400. That's 2,600. The Israelis have killed almost 20 times that amount. Who's the terrorist? The rest of that region's looking at this. They see this. They're not stupid. They can add. And the ones who are recklessly, constantly attacking and killing civilians is Israel. But yet the other complication here is, here's Netanyahu saying, yeah, we're going to expand this war. They fought Hamas for 12 months. They still have not defeated Hamas. And there they have a confined area that is blocked by the sea on one end, surrounded by Egypt on the south, and controlled by Israel on the north and the east. And they can't do that. But yet, now they're going to launch a ground invasion into Lebanon. They're going to continue the operations in Gaza. They're going to continue operations in the West Bank. They're going to start a war with Iran. And let's go after the Houthis while we're at it. Now, where I said the United States couldn't fight a two-front war, you want to believe that Israel can fight a five-front war?
Without
no matter
help?
how much Netanyahu wants to believe it?
Yeah.
This is where we're talking the arrogance and hubris that characterizes Israel.
I want to go down, Gary. I didn't ask for this. Can you pull back up that the deal with the Arab League report that we had earlier today? Is that something you can get back? Okay, he's going to try to pull that up there. What he's going to show you here, you talked about the region is seeing this, and they're seeing all this stuff going on in Yemen, which had another huge missile strike from Israel overnight, and the hundreds of the strikes that are going on into Lebanon, the assassination of not just Nasrallah, but of Haniya before that. So the number one guy that you have to negotiate a ceasefire of any sort or any kind of negotiated settlement with, Hezbollah, you assassinated him. The guy from Hamas, Ismail Haniya, you assassinated him. So everywhere you look, you're trying to get, or you're not trying to, you are eliminating physically any possibility of a negotiated settlement. Meanwhile, this was earlier today, you had these members of the Arab League, and this is led by the Jordanian foreign ministry here. And watch this.
The Israeli Prime Minister came here today and said that Israel is surrounded by those who want to destroy it, an enemy. We're here, members of a Muslim Arab committee mandated by 57 Arab and Muslim countries. And I can tell you here, very unequivocally, all of us are willing to, right now, guarantee the security of Israel in the context of Israel ending the occupation and allowing for the emergence of a Palestinian state, independent state, along the reference that we all agree. He is creating that danger because he simply does not want the two-state solution. And if he does not want the two-state solution, can you ask Israeli officials, what is their end game? Other than just wars and wars and wars. I'm telling you, all of us in the Arab world here, we want a peace in which Israel lives in peace and security, accepted, normalized with all Arab countries in the context of ending the occupation, withdrawing from Arab territory, allowing for the emergence of an independent sovereign Palestinian state on June 4, 1967, lines with occupied Jerusalem as capital.
Okay, that's good enough, Gary. So you see there that they are aware of this, and they said there is peace on the table. We'll underwrite it. It's good as long as there is some kind of negotiated settlement to where the Palestinians have at least a prospect for peace and security for themselves here. But then I think he gets to the point there that Netanyahu does not want peace, does not want a negotiated settlement. He truly wants war, and it doesn't matter whether it's the Arab League, the United States of America, or anyone else. He is hell-bent on going into this conflict.
Yeah, he's going to do it. And that old saying, we'll find out if the old saying that pride goes before the fall is true. there is a lot of pride, arrogance, and hubris on the part of Netanyahu with respect to this. This one launch strikes into Lebanon. They don't have any air defense system to speak of. I'm not sure if Iran has time to actually bring any forward and deploy them. Not the case in Syria. Syria now has Russia, and I think the Russians are probably boosting Syrian capabilities. You notice that up to this point, the Israelis haven't gone there. But I've heard from, I am acquainted. I don't even want to call this person a friend because he's not a friend. I think he's disgusting and sickening. But he's a prominent Zionist in the United States, a very wealthy Zionist. And man, what he's saying exactly what Netanyahu's doing. We're gonna destroy Hezbollah, then we're gonna go into Syria. We're gonna kill Bashar Assad. They're gonna murder and assassinate another world leader. Then they're going to destroy Iran, and they're going to destroy Yemen. They are all about destroying. They're not about bringing life. They're not about bringing peace. They're about destroying. And they believe that they can do it.
Let's see what they can do, first of all, on step one of that trip, or maybe step two, I guess, into Lebanon. So obviously, starting with the pager issues and then the assassinations of the generals, they have been systematically, the Israelis have destroying their ability to have effective communications, taking out some members of their top leaders. They've been now then, since the pager issue is to take out, command and control nodes, ammo depot, fuel depots, etc., throughout the country to further weaken the Hezbollah ability to fight. But in light of all that, here is currently the top of the Hezbollah chain, Kazem, who was the deputy before that. Here's what he's saying earlier today.
We are ready. If the Israelis want to enter on a ground offensive, the forces of resistance are ready in order to begin a ground confrontation and a ground battle. We have prepared and we are ready. And with God's support and with confidence in God, we are confident that the Israeli enemy will not achieve its objectives, and we will be victorious after this battle.
Now, you just got through talking about that the Hezbollah side had no air defense capabilities. They don't have any kind of modern command and control system right now. It's going to be very disjointed. But as you've said before, they do have some cards. And I don't know if you can talk about a little bit about what they have, especially among the fighters and let's say everywhere south of the Litani River, which is a pretty substantial area, about 25 kilometers deep, one to the other. And then about this alleged 150,000 rockets and missiles, which other than just small little spits and starts, we've not seen. How do you see this battle playing out?
Well, I don't have the firsthand experience with it, but I've been, it was like I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. So I've been talking to Alistair Crook. Alistair's a friend. Alistair is probably, I'm not aware of another Westerner that has as much experience as he has, both with the Israelis and with Hezbollah and with Hamas and with Iran. And what he says is that, number one, actually, the Hezbollah communication system is intact because it's fiber optic. Their military command and control system is a fiber optic system. So that has not been compromised by the Israelis that we know of at this point. Number two, they're set up to launch missiles and rockets from below ground, sort of like the way our ballistic missiles fly out of silos out in North Dakota, South Dakota. They're set up to operate in the same way. They've got extensive underground fortifications, bunkers, storage facilities, so that are outside of the reach of Israel's various weapons. They could bunker here with, but again, you're never quite guaranteed that you're going to get the penetration you need. But the Hezbollah is also, they've been effective in terms of their training in combat situations, carrying battles against Sunni extremists up in Syria, and they have their own experience from 2006. So you got veterans from 18 years ago. So this is, I think the Israelis, are, again, underestimating their enemy. They think that they have decapitated the leadership, and that because it's decapitated, that it's dependent upon Nasrallah, and without Nasrallah, it's not going to operate. But see, here's the problem they created for themselves. The replacement for Nasrallah is Nasrallah's cousin, who, according to Alistair, is much more radical, much more impatient than Nasrallah, which means he's likely to authorize more severe military strikes and step up the activity instead of quelling it. So again, Israel could find itself now embroiled in a battle in Gaza, and from the south with the Houthis, and then in Lebanon. And Iran hasn't even entered the picture yet. And I imagine that settlers in the West, the factions aligned with both Hamas, Hezbollah, that will be in the West Bank, they'll rise up and start conducting guerrilla operations against Israeli troops. So Israel is not creating a situation for itself where it's going to have more control, created a situation where it's going to have less control.
Let me ask you this question, because I think that this is one of the biggest issues, especially for American audiences, is what is the risk to America in all this? Because at the moment, we have not been drawn into a war, and we, are literally right now negotiating an end to our involvement in Iraq, by the way, which going back to 2003, we're now in the negotiating phase to get that done. As we're sending over thousands more troops, that looks like we're getting ready to go into this battle here. Now, to me, it seems like the only way we enter this battle is if the war against Hezbollah goes bad for Israel, and they maybe start firing these missiles, and you see Israeli cities on fire, and you see military issues burning down, and you see lots of casualties coming back from the front from the IDF. And in that case, it seems like then they can go, we're all a victim here, and we're helpless. We need help right now. Do you see any chance that the current administration would say, sorry, fellas, we just can't help you out. We're not going to get into this war. We're not going to fight it for you? Or do you see that we would actually go to war with any of these groups here on behalf of Israel?
Yeah, I think we're slip and fall into that swamp. We're not going to necessarily do it consciously, but anybody that's walked along a slippery bank next to a body of water, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, foot goes out from under you, and next thing you know, you're in the water or mud. Look, I've said tongue in cheek, but there's an element of truth to it. That Bibi Netanyahu should probably now get the Nobel Peace Prize. So what? Well, he's brought unity between the Sunni and the Shia in a way that we've never seen. Because in the aftermath of the murder of Nasrallah, Sunni regimes throughout Middle East and Southeast Asia, or Southwest Asia, are coming out massive demonstrations. In Pakistan, massive demonstrations in the Kashmir. So the Muslim world is reacting to this, and reacting very strongly, because Nasrallah actually, sort of had a status somewhat akin to Nelson Mandela, because he wasn't a war. The man was not a warmonger and not a leading terrorist. He wasn't out advocating killing. He was trying to seek for a political solution with a group of Israelis who had no interest whatsoever. So I anticipate, if we get out of this month without a couple of U.S. embassies being blown up in the Middle East, because right now there are security forces ringing the U.S. Embassy in Amman, U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, U.S. Embassy in Ankara, U.S. Embassy in Islamabad. And those security forces are out in force because there are large crowds wanting to storm them. I anticipate we will see some U.S. diplomats killed. I anticipate that we're going to see dramatic increase in the attacks on the U.S. military outposts in Syria, illegal outposts, I might add. They're protecting Conoco oil. The Hezbollah, the Shia Islamic movements inside Iraq have already been carrying out attacks over the last several years. I think we're going to see them step up, in part because Iran, over the last 3 months, I think had counseled basically some restraint. They got deceived. The United States made promises to them that, hey, if you don't retaliate, we're going to calm things down. Now they realize they were lied to, and the gloves are going to come off. So, yeah, I think the United States is going to be hit, and then there's going to be the domestic pressure ourselves. And we got to get over there. And we didn't learn a damn thing from the last 21 years in Iraq. So back to school.
Yeah, I'm not going to show the clip right now just because we're running out of time. But there was Jack Keane was on earlier today screaming that. John Bolton does all the time. It's always Iran. We have to go after Iran. They'll be cheerleading this along the way. So if anything happens, negatively toward the IDF, you can count on many voices here advocating more war. And we've seen the last several decades that they usually win. But we'll see what happens. We'll leave it there for the moment. We're going to continue to watch it. Thank you so much for coming on, Larry, today and giving us your expert analysis of this stuff. And we'll just keep on tracking with it.
Thanks, Danny. Always a pleasure, brother.
Thanks to you guys too. Appreciate you coming on today. Always ask that you like and subscribe to the channel. Also to remind you that we're now on podcast. I know a lot of you don't always have the opportunity to watch online, but I know you have time to. Many of you have time to listen to it on your favorite podcast. So wherever you get those, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, just type in Daniel Davis Deep Dive, and you will be taken to our inventory where you can watch our latest episodes. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. We'll see you tomorrow on Daniel Davis Deep Dive.